Thank you, Chair. Just before I get to my questions, just for your time management information, given that we had a fairly long opening statement and then started with government questions, I now think it's unlikely that opposition senators and I presume crossbench senators will be able to get through all of our questions by 11 a.m. So just to flag that, I think we're going to have to go beyond 11 a.m. with the Secretary. I'll be as economical as possible. Secretary, thank you for proactively addressing the $2.3 billion of unlawful payments in your opening statement. That has addressed some of the questions that I was going to raise now. But just a couple of quick follow-ups. You described the breach as an inadvertent breach on part of the officers. I've no doubt that that was the case. I'm sure they weren't deliberately doing that. But from the point of view of the APS Code of Conduct, there's no distinction drawn between deliberate or inadvertent breaches of the law, is there?
So, Senator, I have had the opportunity to, I have had the opportunity to speak with Dr. de Brouwer about this, and I think it's most important that if we go into details of exactly how the Code of Conduct process works, then it would be most appropriate to have a discussion with him. But he has certainly confirmed with me that it is absolutely not the intention that the Code of Conduct framework results in every behaviour that falls short of expectations being assessed as needing a formal misconduct process. And indeed, I think I'd go a bit further to say that if we took that approach, I would be concerned about the risk that then means that people are less likely to come forward and reveal errors when they come across them. So I am completely with you that breaches like this are unacceptable, and breaches like we have to set our systems up so that breaches like this are avoided to the maximum extent possible. But I also want systems where, when breaches like this are uncovered, well, first of all, they are found, so people are actively looking to make sure that they haven't occurred. When they're found, they're fixed as quickly as possible and they're fully disclosed. And I think that's really critically important. And I would be very concerned that if there was overuse of the Code of Conduct process, I would be concerned about the impact that would have on culture.
Sure.
So in terms of the advice that I have had from Dr. de Brouwer, I have to make a judgment that there is a suspected breach of the Code of Conduct in order for me to conduct an investigation. I have received advice from my department that they do not, from my corporate team, that there is no suspected breach. I have gone through a lot of this material myself, including in preparation for estimates, and I am not of the view that there is a suspected breach of the Code of Conduct in this circumstance.
Sure, I appreciate the point you're making. We certainly do not want to have a culture where public servants feel like they shouldn't bring forward, breaches, inadvertent or otherwise, when they occur. I'm not contesting that, but I'm advised the relevant part of the APS Code of Conduct says, and I quote, "An APS employee, when acting in connection with APS employment, must comply with all applicable Australian laws. For this purpose, an Australian law means A, an act including this act or any instrument made under an act, and B, the law of a state or territory including an instrument made under such law." It doesn't say, except for inadvertent breaches of the law, and I would be concerned if the impression that was taken from this is that it's not a serious matter or it's a less serious matter if it's inadvertent rather than deliberate. I think breach of the law, and particularly a breach of the Constitution and in the payment of money, is a serious matter.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just coming back to one other aspect of your opening statement, you said you became aware of this or you were briefed on this in connection with the preparation of Treasury's financial statements. Was that the first time this was drawn to your attention?
It was.
Shouldn't it have been brought to your attention earlier?
So, as you know, I commenced in this role in mid-June. Perhaps it could have been brought to my attention earlier. I'm telling you when it was brought to my attention.
And
so that was on the 12th
date?
of September.
Sorry, the 12th of September.
Yeah.
So, we heard evidence last night that there are two breaches, one of which came to the attention of the department in November, and another one which I think came to the attention of the department in May. Someone will correct me if I'm misremembering that. You weren't told till September, and you started in June?
That's correct.
That's months and months and months after these breaches were identified. I would have thought, incoming brief, new secretary, by the way, you should know, we made a bit of a mistake here and spent $2.3 billion of taxpayers' money unlawfully. So
Senator, one of the reasons why I have been keen to initiate a management-initiated review of our processes is to get to the bottom of exactly these sorts of questions. When should these sorts of matters be elevated to the Secretary? So that's, I guess I've just been open and transparent with you about when I was informed, but the Deputy Secretary who was here yesterday, Mr White, was also clear about all of the processes which were undertaken internally upon uncovering each of these errors. But that's so. I have requested that review be undertaken. I am keen to hear about that review in relation to what other things about the way in which we handled this process could be improved into the future. So I'm absolutely open to that.
Sure. Do you have a preliminary view that you should have been told earlier, though?
So first of all, I wasn't Secretary at the time.
No, but you were Secretary of the Department of Finance.
No, I was Secretary of the Department of Finance. This goes to internal processes. I think probably my better view is that these sorts of matters would be brought to the Secretary when they are uncovered. I don't think there's any reason why they shouldn't be. So that's my honest view.
Okay. No, I think that's important. And obviously you weren't notified as Finance Secretary.
No, I wasn't.
No, and we heard in estimates this week that the Finance Department learned about it first through the financial reviews reporting. It would have subsequently come through to them by more formal channels, but the first time they learned about it was in the AFR, and I think it was the same for the Finance Minister as well.
Correct.
We also heard that PM&C wasn't notified at any point as part of this process, and the ANAO, I think, was alerted to it a little bit earlier. But as part of this review, do you think we need to have a look at the disclosure mechanisms? It seems to me that an offhand mention in the Treasury's financial reporting is not the most prompt or transparent way to disclose something like this.
So I first of all wouldn't say that it was an offhand mention in the financial accounts. It's a clear report in the financial accounts, and the matter was was absolutely clearly disclosed, and we had of course briefed the Treasurer when these errors were uncovered. I am completely comfortable with the idea that the management review works through all of these issues in relation to what is the most appropriate way to deal with breaches of this nature, because I certainly agree with you that breaches of the Constitution are not things to be taken lightly. I obviously, as Finance Secretary, I had to make decisions about matters which were significant breaches of the finance law, and had to bring those to the Minister's attention, and I'm certainly aware that I did that on one occasion. I do think that some of that guidance material, so this is guidance material, not law, in terms of how disclosures should be managed, and some of that guidance material is important because there would be some breaches which might be significant but not significant enough to be reported in your financial accounts.
Right.
And so I do think it's important that there are mechanisms to tell agencies that, your financial accounts is not the only way in which you can disclose an error like this. There are other mechanisms. But the fact that we disclosed it in the financial accounts and made it, and in fact that this was discussed at length, including with the ANAO, in the process of finalising the financial accounts, and there were no issues raised in that process, is something that I also took some comfort from.
I understand, though, that it was on page 143 of Treasury's annual report that this was disclosed. That's not exactly prominent, disclosure, is it? You have to wade pretty deep into the report to find it.
It's at the appropriate place in the financial accounts. I mean, I don't have a particular view about that.
Okay. Chair, are you seeking to rotate the call?